So I talked about the way offerings will look, that's obviously being disrupted, as you can see, but two other ways they're being disrupted. The first of these two is in how offerings and solutions, really, so going all the way to the customer, how solutions are being developed. What's the model? Who is developing them? And how many are we going to see coming onto the marketplace? And David foreshadowed this a little bit. When you think about that long tail of demand in the marketplace, the only way that we are going to successfully tap into that demand is it's not going to be by widely distributing the same old one-size-fits-all applications and solutions. It's going to be about creating a plethora of, I would call, micro solutions that are highly verticalized, tailored around the many different needs within that long tail. So really, we're going to have to grow by an order of magnitude the number and variety of solutions that we as an industry generate in order to fulfill that need and to be relevant to the business. Remember, business relevance was a key driver. This explosion of solutions is going to be the raw material for increasing our relevance to the business. So the only way we're going to do that is to create and to enable large communities of partners who are going to help us create this plethora of solutions. So there are three types of community that are out there right now. You can already see them developing. One group are the type that we've talked about for the past few years. It's the big guys in the traditional application platform space. It's Microsoft, it's IBM with WebSphere, it's SAP, it is Oracle. These guys are working overtime to to build giant ecosystems or communities of developers who will add these micro solutions around their environment. And as we said, move them online. But it's also a second group, which are really upstart vendors out of the application space. It's Salesforce.com with their App Exchange. It's Sugar CRM, the open source CRM vendor with their Sugar Exchange. And they're hoping to outdo their larger rivals in that. But the third group is the one that's really kind of spooky, okay, and really explodes the whole model, because it is the group that you don't even think of as application platforms and development communities. And it's companies like Mozilla with Firefox and over 2,000 solutions. They're called add-ons or extensions. I'd call them micro solutions that have been developed for that browser. Or the Google development community, which is exploding around Google's platform of search and of maps. And it's beyond that. It is also eBay. It's PayPal. It is Amazon. eBay has 30,000 developers around its software platform. Amazon claims over 100,000. So this is an amazing explosion in innovation communities. Anyone who thinks it's just about the traditional application platforms, forget it. It's going to be a lot bigger than that. And so that's exciting. That's about a lot of people, the network effect, creating value for customers. But it's also going to be very overwhelming to customers. Can you imagine a customer looking out and seeing this huge sea of solutions and pieces of solutions and trying to figure out, well, which ones and how am I going to put it together? So as you can see, this bullet here, it's going to create a huge opportunity for those of us who can play a role in aggregating these services and then integrating these services in a very focused way for specific customers. I think the fundamental question we need to ask, and the challenge of this new model of how solutions will be built and by whom and how many, is what's our role going to be in this community model of innovation and solution development? Are we going to be a hub? Our hub of innovation? Are we going to be a contributor of other people's, to other people's hubs? Are we going to be contributors to many different communities? If we're the hub of a community, are we going to talk to other hubs and other communities, or are we going to put up the stone wall? And I think the answer is clear. We're not going to be able to do that. The hubs are going to have to work together. So a lot of challenges. The last of these disruptions around the offering is around where the technology comes from. And John talked a little bit about this, and Danielle really drove into this. And the idea that if you take a look in a lot of different sectors within the marketplace today in the enterprise, we are seeing consumer technologies really become the lead technologies that are going to be at the foundation of our next generation of enterprise applications. And it's not just Rhino and his dog, and the fact that they want to see those technologies, so that's a nice thing to do. No, it's also because of the mass market economics that those technologies have, and the enormous tidal wave of innovation that's building up, again, the numbers game around consumer markets. And so it's driving a greater flood of innovation. So if you take a look at it in a lot of areas. Now, just 3 examples I'd like to share with you of where consumer technologies are already reshaping the enterprise solution space. One is in storage. Very simple tipping point, you might say, in 2007. This year is the first year in which the number of terabytes shipped to consumers is going to be larger than the number of terabytes shipped to enterprises. And by the way, that's not looking back. So imagine yourself, where is the investment and innovation going to come from, not exclusively, but largely in the storage space. If we go to the world of interface, Danielle talked a lot about that and the world of games and how that's creating a lot of great excitement and new things, and talked about Second Life. That's where the future of applications is, and that's the reason why CIOs that I know, including the CIO at Verizon, Shaigan Karadpir, has actually assigned some of his IT people to go onto a digital animation authoring site, Machinima, to think about how can Verizon use those technologies to create the interfaces for their next generation of business applications. And then lastly, in the world of information, I think we all know about Wikipedia, the online encyclopedia. Jimmy Wales, the founder. It's the using wiki technology that allows a large community of people to collectively and collaboratively create information, edit information, share it. And those of you who followed it closely know that Jimmy and Wikipedia have both taken huge knocks in the press because, it's not robust enough, and, who are these editors, and is the information correct, and it's not really ready for prime time. That all sounds good, except I don't know whether you noticed, but a couple of months ago, the U.S. intelligence community made a very interesting announcement. The 16 agencies in that community announced that they were creating a wiki. Well, it's a top secret wiki, and called, it's not that top secret, I guess, but getting into it is tough. But called Intellipedia, right? That's not very creative, but hopefully it works. But here's the interesting thing, okay? Intellipedia, 3,600 members, are on this. Again, it's security passes. You need to get in there, obviously. They have 28,000 pages of information that they're sharing, intelligence they're sharing, ranging from sensitive but not classified all the way up to top secret. Okay, and using the same technology as Wikipedia. Now, if that isn't a serious business application, I don't know what is. So to me, I think what's the message? It's clear and it's coming fast. As we look at our own R&D radar screens, where are we looking for these new technologies? We better have our screens nice and wide and at least partly and intensely trained on this consumer space.